Atlantic United Methodist Church. They have been so hospitable to us here. They're also providing breakfast for us here tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock? 6 o'clock. So if you see any of the guys or any of the folks in the kitchen, if you want to just say thank you to them and how much we appreciate what they do. They do that for us free of charge. So you're always free to make a donation just to cover the cost for that so that they can extend that hospitality to other groups that they welcome here during the year as well. Just also want to recognize Pete Castro, who has been the chair of the RFTF Feast board this year. Helping us in the planning and promotion of this event, and we would not be able to do that and be so successful with this event without them. Pete's going to follow me here this evening and just let you hear some client stories of the folks that you'll be writing for. On that note, though, one of the things I do when I finish the ride each year is go back into almost 100 people who sponsored me. I let them know that here's what their money amounted to, so I'll give them the grand total of whatever that is that we raised, and I'll say your dollars helped us to do this, and I'll explain to them a little bit about Moveable Feast. We recently received a letter from a 42-year-old client who is in 4th stage breast cancer, and she wrote to us, "Moveable Feast, thank you for providing me with such delicious and nutritious foods these past months. What a blessing you have been. You've helped me through one of the most difficult times of my life, and I don't know how else to appreciate you, but to say thank you for your good work in helping others who are so sick in our community. Mrs. R." That's just typical of one of the many letters and words of thanks that we get from our clients who we serve throughout a year. Especially for those of you who are new to the ride this year, you may not be as familiar with Moveable Feast and our services, but last year we traveled more than 75,000 miles, which is 3 times the circumference of the earth, delivering more than 739,000 meals to more than 2,000 families in Baltimore, the 5 surrounding counties, and on the entire eastern shore of Maryland. For many of our clients, sometimes our staff and the volunteers who assist us in delivering to our clients, a lot of times our staff and those volunteers are the only face that our clients may see in a week. They're the only word of hope, the only person who's showing some concern about them. And so more than providing food, we also provide that human care and compassion that is so necessary for people when they're sick. Last year we also engaged more than 5,000 volunteers and donors who helped us fight disease by educating the community about the fear of disease, especially still the stigma and fear of HIV. And we helped them by educating them and bringing them into Moveable Feast to help break down stereotypes and discrimination that our clients often face. Our involvement with advocacy issues to maintain Ryan White funding this year in the face of a very tenuous federal budget. We minimized the threats to Medicaid and Medicare. We helped fight for services for our clients so that they can maintain a quality of life and standard of excellence in their health care. And finally, we foster hope for our clients by actively pursuing volunteers and staff who have a passion for our mission. By fundraising to ensure our continued services for those who are poor and critically ill, and by engaging with our clients in a personal way to assure them that we're concerned about their overall well-being, we foster hope in their lives. I know that many of you are here today because you have a personal connection to our mission. I've heard many stories in the 4 years that I've been riding of people who ride because of someone they knew who had HIV or died of AIDS, or someone who rides because they're HIV positive and have good health and good life. Others who are affected by cancer in one way or another. All of us engage in this because we personally believe in something about the mission of Moveable Feast. And so thank you for your efforts to raise money, to raise awareness, to feed people, to fight disease, and to foster hope. We couldn't do it without you. We couldn't do it without the wonderful Moveable Feast staff, who all of us will engage with you sometime on this weekend. We have 6 board members who are riding on this ride. Any of our board members who would just stand up for a moment? So often staff and board members come in and out of events, and they come to say hello, and they come at the end to say thank you. And our staff and board really engage in this entire weekend. Thank you for all you do. The most important thing, as Ted said, is that we all have a safe and enjoyable trip. If there's anything that we can do to promote your safety and also your comfort on this trip, please see any staff person, and if you've been good to Amanda, go see Amanda. Ask you to welcome now Pete Castro, who is the chair of our board. He's going to chair of our Right for the Feast committee, and he's going to talk a little bit about our clients. Pete?
Some are going to be told from the point of view of staff members and volunteers. You're going to hear about a client living with breast cancer. You're going to hear about others living with HIV. You learn about how Moveable Feast culinary program has impacted someone's life. We hope these stories inspire you as you ride 140 miles this weekend. Remember that you, our riders, and our crew have directly helped the lives of those you hear about this weekend, as well as over 230 others living in Maryland, whom you fed for a year. 3 years ago, an addiction to painkillers and cocaine brought Ron to Baltimore. As a result of his addiction, he lost his wife, children, and a beautiful home in Anne Arundel. With no support network in Baltimore, no job, and extremely low self-esteem, Ron eventually got into a transitional housing program. In 2010, when he saw a flyer for Moveable Feast Culinary Arts and Life Skills Training Program, he jumped at the opportunity to pursue training in the food industry and to ultimately turn his life around. At first, he was hesitant, not wanting to speak with other program participants, but it didn't take long until Ron emerged as a top student. Through the combination of culinary training and life skills workshops, Ron passed his Serve Safe exam. He proved himself as a dedicated worker and developed a close relationship with Moveable Feast culinary class instructor. With the valuable references he built up at Moveable Feast and the skills learned, Ron said, "I went from nothing to 2 part-time jobs. I'm feeling good about the direction I'm going and about myself." He was just unofficially offered an assistant chef position and recently communicated with his daughter for the first time in 3 years. As I said, you're going to be hearing stories throughout the weekend and tonight. Hopefully these will inspire you to make it through the 140 miles. And just congratulate yourselves for just getting here. Thank you.
Mr. T is a client of Moveable Feast who has been receiving nutrition counseling and home-delivered meals since April 2006. At 52 years old, Mr. T has been seriously chronically ill with AIDS for many years. Joseph, a meal delivery driver for Moveable Feast, had brought Mr. T to the attention of our 3 dietitians on staff, concerned about his frail and declining health. This is Ginny, our supervising dietitian's first-hand account of visiting his home. The neighbors cupped their hands above their eyes and stared as we climbed out of the car and piled our supplies and the client's food over our shoulders. Imagine pack mules venturing around Baltimore City. The chain-link fence gate screeched as we dragged it across the concrete and climbed up the uneven, cracked cement steps. Knock, knock, knock. We realized the door we were knocking on was not the client's door, but the door to the row house's apartment hallway. We entered the hallway and knocked on the blue door. The lace curtain moved to the side and a long, thin, wrinkled face peered out. "Hi, Mr. T, we're here for your home visit and we brought your groceries." He continued to peer at us with confused eyes. "Can we come in?" He said no and continued peering out. Finally, he opened the door and led us out onto the porch, leaving his door ajar. He was barely 100 pounds at 5 feet 8 inches. Both hands shakily held up his jeans, twice his size, barely covering his adult diaper. He seemed coherent at first, but began to stare into space and became periodically unresponsive throughout our visit. We helped him to his door. As he walked down his hallway, leaving his door ajar, we noticed his furniture and trash strewn on the floor. I asked, "Mr. T, do you want me to pick up your chair?" He just shook his head and continued walking down the hallway slowly, as though he might collapse at any moment. When we returned to the office, I called and spoke with his caseworker, who sent someone over to take the client to the hospital. A couple weeks later, I received a call from his caseworker. "Hi, Jenny. I just wanted to let you know that Mr. T is doing great. The client had been taken to the ER, then moved to a rehabilitation facility. Mr. T has gained 40 pounds and was fully functional both physically and mentally."
Hi, everybody. I'm CJ White, captain of Team Dragonfly. And before I start, I just want to say one thing. We won, Drew! Those of you who don't know me, I actually ran another charity down the street from Moveable Feast for about 9 years and brought part of my crew into this charity because you guys do it all year round. I ran Big Gaddy's Thanksgiving dinner, that whole fest. And feeding people is what we do. Me and Big Bill Sigmund is my #1 guy. And we saw what you guys were doing, and we jumped in both feet. And this is our 3rd year. Almost 20,000 years. Team Dragonfly has also added 5 new people to the team. I thank you for your service and welcome to the team. If you don't know my story, it starts day after Christmas 2007 when my son Xavier White actually hung himself in our house playing with ribbon. And he suffered with a life-threatening brain injury for 2 years later. You know, Johns Hopkins, $169,000 worth of bills every month. And we got him home in 6 months. One of the Moveable Feast riders and nurses, Nurse Crystal Gingrich, actually helped save his life and teach me how to be a nurse and care for him. I was one of his nurses. He lost his battle last year, February. So, I started this team for him, and I'll continue with his honor because he helped me at my other charity, and he did the best job he could. It was great, and for a kid with such wonderful physical abilities, it was hard seeing him struggle the way he did. I mean, we didn't have or was in a position to, take advantage of Moveable Feast because, we're in a good position, and thank God I was, to be able to move through this. But you guys are wonderful, and you got everything I got, Okay, let's move on. Nancy Guest is the Moveable Feast Client Services Manager. She's been with the organization for 10 years. She facilitates care for thousands of people. The following story is a story she shares with us. And in the Team Dragonfly tradition, I'd like to have Kate Joyce, new member, read the story. Kate, please come up.
taking supplies.
This is not a nice tradition. I asked her about her experience receiving the service, and she told me it saved her life. Did I skip a paragraph?
Several.
I spoke with a single mother of 2 teenage daughters living in Baltimore City and living with breast cancer. Her name was Mary. She called to remove herself from service because she was well enough to return to work. I asked her about her experience receiving the service, and she told me it saved her life. After having a double mastectomy, she was not able to raise her arms or get out of bed. Her daughters had to do everything for her. They would heat up the microwave meal, and then one would lift and hold her up while the other child fed her the food. Her daughters did not have to worry about going food shopping or cooking dinner for her. They were able to prepare the easy meals that come in the grocery bags and use the frozen meals for dinner. She also said her daughters were able to attend school during the day and care for her in the afternoon and evening. Receiving the food helped her regain her weight and energy needed to get back to work. If they did not receive the food, she knows her recovery would have taken longer. She said she loves everyone at Moveable Feast, and she would recommend this service to others who are living with breast cancer.
Thank you, Kate. My final request is to Tom and Durango. Can we change the bag to moving feast or move a bag feast? Because every time I say movable feast, I spit in the person I'm trying to get money back. Anybody else having that problem? Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cindy Sears. For the next 2 days, I'm Spinderella. Very, very proud to be a member of Fierce Chicks for 6 years. Following the lead of the greatest Fierce Chick, that being one Lisa Scotty or
Whoa!
Shizzle. Ted and Amanda asked me to say why I'm here, and I'm here for my patients. I'm an infectious diseases physician and have had the privilege of caring for HIV-infected patients since 1979. And my favorite clinical activity, which is sort of an oxymoron, is being part of the HIV service, both in the inpatient and outpatient services at Johns Hopkins. Not only because I've learned so much medically, but more importantly because of the joy those patients have given me over time and what they've really taught me. I owe them a great deal, and that's why I'm here. So Amanda and Ted asked me also to share a client story, and I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit. This is about a gentleman who lives in Hartford County and is diabetic, has high blood pressure, and is HIV positive, who's been helped by Moveable Feast since 2009, but appears to have been anxious about asking for more services. But he agreed to a home visit, which is an opportunity for Moveable Feast to provide him with more information medically and also to assess his nutrition. So apparently last week, Betty, one of our dietitians and a nutritional intern, went to see him and found not only him anxious, but also his grandson, who had watched his grandfather be poked and prodded over time, also anxious upon their arrival. And what they learned was that this gentleman, who proved to have pretty severe diabetes, had never had nutritional advice, and in fact noted that he was shaky because he had spent so much time preparing for their visit he had forgotten to eat on his schedule. And further, he eventually let them know that in fact the meals that Moveable Feast brought were so helpful to him because he could take them to the doctors with him, because he actually couldn't go that time period without the opportunity to eat. So they had a tremendous opportunity to educate him about how to protect himself against the low blood sugar and how to manage his medical problems better. At the end, both he and his grandson were more relaxed, and they expressed their appreciation as Betty and her intern went to leave, and then Betty and the intern hugged both the grandson and the grandfather. And at that point, and I'll just read the last sentence, he is shocked as he had become so accustomed to people fearing getting too close to him. So I'll just leave you with the key message, which we all know, no matter what our circumstances are in life, the power of touch for another human being. And Moveable Feast touches people in many, many ways. It's a wonderful opportunity.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I'm a little overwhelmed right now, so thank you for the perspective. And I was a little bit worried about how I was going to ride 140 miles this weekend when I barely trained, and I think that when I put it in perspective, everything we've talked about tonight, my journey is pretty easy compared to the journey some of our clients are going through. So I have a few last minute announcements about the weekend. Hold on, give me one